The true horror of this world isn't always found in specters or demons. Sometimes it is the chilling, absolute malice of men, magnified by the cold, deep silence of the Nigerian bush. This is the story of a promise broken, a sacrifice rejected, and the terror that descended upon Akati village. Our victim, our anchor, was Reverend James Audu Issa, a pastor of the evangelical church Winning All. He was a man of peace, a shepherd to his flock in the rural, quiet heart of Kwara State. A quiet life, perhaps, but in today's Nigeria, quiet lives are merely waiting for the sound of scraping boots. It happened on the 28th of August. The sun had long abandoned Ekiti. The only light came from a few scattered lamps, but they did little against the absolute blackness that pressed against the walls of the parsonage. That night, the darkness came not to comfort, but to consume. It began with a shattering noise, not the single crack of a gunshot, but the wood splintering impact of a heavy boot against a door. Then came the shouts, guttural and relentless, echoing in the confined space. Heavily armed, masked, and anonymous, the men moved with professional efficiency, tearing Pastor Audu from his home, from his sleep, and from his life. The family was left with the dust, the shattered door frame, and the metallic odor of fear. But soon, the voice of the kidnappers arrived on the other end of a scratchy phone line. Their demand was monstrous. 100 million. Think about that number. 100 million naira. A ransom beyond the wildest dreams of a poor, rural farming community. Yet, they did not hesitate. The evangelical church Winning All, his family, the villagers, they pooled every savings, sold every viable asset. Every kobo was a sliver of hope, a desperate wager against death. Weeks crawled by, each day a new layer of torment for the loved ones left behind. The negotiations were a torment in themselves, reducing a life to a commodity on a grotesque, invisible marketplace. Finally, they managed to scrape together 5 million. It was a fortune to them. It was everything they had. They delivered the money. They followed the instructions, the desperate ritual of the drop-off in the lonely, designated spot. And then they waited. They waited for the phone call announcing his release. They waited for the sight of their pastor, weary but alive, walking out of the bush and back into the light. But what they received was not a sound of relief, but a cold, final calculation of greed. The kidnappers called again. They had the 5 million. They had the life savings of an entire community. And now, they demanded another 45 million. It was a sick, twisted game. The payment wasn't a guarantee of life, it was merely an ante to extend the suffering. The terror wasn't just physical anymore. It was the psychological dread of realizing that the men holding Pastor Audu were incapable of mercy, incapable of honor, and driven only by bottomless avarice. The community had given their all. There was nothing left to give. Before any further plea could be made, before the family could even process the renewed demand, the final word arrived. Not from the authorities, not through a negotiator, but through the crushing, inevitable silence of the forest. Reverend James Audu Issa was dead. They killed him. They took the ransom money, the product of sacrifice and boundless faith, and they executed the very man whose life they had promised to sell back. His body was recovered, a silent testament to the evil he endured, found in the wilderness he had once known so well. The horror is in that final, awful juxtaposition. The enormous sacrifice made by those who loved him, met with the effortless, casual cruelty of his killers. In Akati, the silence is now different. It's not the silence of the night, but the silence of a promise broken, and the bone-deep knowledge that even 5 million reasons were not enough to buy the life of a man of God. And that, friends, is the darkest truth of all. If you found this true story compelling and believe these acts of violence deserve global scrutiny, please hit the like button. Share this video to keep the memory of Reverend James Audu Issa alive and to demand justice for all victims of this ongoing crisis. Subscribe for more strange, dark, and mysterious stories.